I'm feeling in my reflective bag, my bago. I had an idea today when I was just eating and sitting. I was like, I feel like one thing that would be really cool is all the things that I've been doing that I find to be kind of helpful in ways for me. I want to I don't know, extend that opportunity to anybody. Like anyone who wants to join, like why not join me? This whole India trip, someone could have joined me if at any point they wanted to, but you didn't even really offer it up as like a possibility. So one thing I want to do is I was thinking about this idea where maybe like every 6 months, like in the mid and at the end, you take like 10 people out camping on a Friday, right? It's a 24-hour silence fest, but no meditation. So it's easy, right? Vipassana is too intense, not only for the 10 days, but for the meditation part, right? Even if you said 10 days of silence, that's one challenging thing. Meditation is a whole other layer. So you say Friday, everyone comes. You set up camp. You kind of chat, meet each other, have all these nice, niceties, get to know who each other are, talk about, you know, where you're from, blah, 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 blah. A little bit. Then you start. Let's say you start around 7, right? Right when sun sets. When sun sets, you begin. You bring a gong, ding, and you begin. Silence begins then. And for 24 hours until the sun sets again, you dong again, ding. You're just quiet. I would love to be on the charge of like making the food, all of these things, and then you have simple lunch, you have simple breakfast, simple dinner. You ding, then you set up a campfire, and everyone sits around. And you start chatting again, right? And in the chat, you start talking about what the first 6 months were like. Where are you in your life? What's been something that's really challenging for you? What's something you're kind of coming out of? Something you're looking forward for the next 6 months. And then Sunday morning, you sleep again. Sunday morning, you drive back home. Something quick. That's something I would do for myself. But to like open up that opportunity for many people, because maybe it's not something people would do. That's something I'm trying to understand as well. Like all the things that you've been learning are practices that happen a lot in the East. These are not things that people in America may do, right? Like as a young professional, I'm going to take a week off to just be silent. Not just like camp and take pictures, but genuinely be silent, right? We're going to turn our phones off, truly be silent and present. Can we do that for one day? See what happens. What does our mind tell us? Where does it take us, right? So these are things I really want to see what would happen for myself, but I want to start allowing others to join in on this opportunity as well. And that's only if you want. If you don't want to, I mean, then you don't have to, right? I'm not going to convince anyone, but I'm just going to be like, hey, this is something I'm doing. If you'd like to join, join. The part that can go wrong is the oh, you should join. It's good for you, right? As soon as you start doing that, that pure intention of here's something I'm doing. If you're interested, join. Here's an opportunity you may not have in your day to day. Come join. I'll go get extra tents, whatever it is, right? Make it so you don't need to buy your own tent. You don't need to, you don't need to have all these kind of things. So, yeah, I'm excited to try something like that. I'm gonna need to meet more people in the Bay to, do something like that. But I think Mirage would come. Deep may come. I don't really have many other friends in the Bay. But, if you live there for a bit, you'll meet some people, and then you can see, right? Like, I think it'd be a cool opportunity to just see what would happen. But yeah, in the morning, I feel like did the thing. Hello, good morning. I did the thing in the morning, and my room's an absolute mess. Um, that thing. Which is probably why I'm here right now doing this. It's crazy, like how if I didn't do that, I would not be recording a. I'm curious how many of these video journals have been done very right after MB sesh. Like I would say probably a good amount. Um, Yeah. So I'm reading this book. It's a Krishnamurti book, and a question he asks is kind of like, what what is loneliness? I mean, really. I mean, let me. It's not as simple. It's not something I can just think about for 10 seconds right now to answer. But really, what is it that I'm so afraid of loneliness? Like, what is it of that feeling that's so terrifying? Because in the morning, what I experienced was boredom, not even loneliness, right? But boredom in itself, what is it? It's that fear that if you do nothing, X. If nothing happens at this moment, X is true. And that X could be I'm meaningless, it could be I'm lazy, therefore I have no value, it could be what else could it be? Yeah, either has to be I have no value or I have no meaning. Because boredom, otherwise, okay, let's say those two aren't true. Then what's so wrong with being bored? Let's say I just sit here and I'm bored. I'm bored. Like, nothing would happen. It's the same thing as it's okay. People, you're like, okay, I'm sitting here, I don't want to do this work. How many times do people still do it? Or like, same thing, you want to itch something, you're like, I'm not going to itch it. It's the same thing of like, I'm bored, but I'm not going to do anything about it. Because it always goes away. And it doesn't go away because you do something about it. It just goes away by itself. Same thing with being horny. You don't have to do anything about it. It just goes by itself. It's just these little waves. And so if you have a better understanding of your kind of energy, of like when it comes, when it goes, and it was like a concept you had earlier where it was like you have phases in your 3 or 4 day phases, right? Where you have one day of high inspiration, second day of, understand these circular phases of your life. All you have to do now is, I mean, again, really identify them, right? Like being in the Himalayas has been very, I don't know, this experience has been changing my life. Just so much reflection. So from here, I'm going to go to Amritsar, which I'm excited for, and then I believe Mumbai for a few days, and then I'll go to Bangalore. So I have a few options. From Mumbai, I could go to the meditation retreat, or I could go to Bangalore. You get to pick. Or you could skip Mumbai, go from Amritsar straight to Bangalore, then go to meditation retreat. The question is, do you want to do the meditation retreat? So let's think. I don't want to do the meditation retreat. Just because I feel like this India experience is so unique in the things I get to experience. That meditation retreat is a very I mean, you've experienced it, but it's very internal. And it doesn't have much to do with the place. It has a lot to do with the people you do it with, right? Like, I mean, because I did in France, the type of people I did it with was so unique, right? It was like that Cambodian language with the English speakers, but they were all from like Paris and different, the people I met at that were so unique because of the area that I did it. But outside of that, I feel like it's crazy because when you're that aware to things, you remember, right? Like, do I remember what happened that trip? Like, day one, I remember all of us chatting. I remember, like, you know where the building was, and then the meditation center and the walk in the forest. I remember when I first got there, they like asked for my bag and stuff, and I remember that walking in from getting off the bus from Paris, walking in, and then I remember doing the that first day meeting each other, being like, hey, this is my name, this, kind of like, I don't know what we're getting into, we're all kind of excited. Then the first gong, silence, right? We do our first meditation session and we sleep. I don't really remember day by day what happened. Remember the first day was hard. I remember by day 3, that one guy left with weekend in front of me. I remember the whole group. I remember the guy who sat next to me. I remember all the meals we had. I remember that one time the bee was super stuck. I moved. I remember when the frogs were super stuck in that place, and I like put a paper up thinking of saving them. Frogs are just stupid. But I was on my like, oh my god, I'm so sensitive to nature. It was just, I mean, it was kind of silly. And then I like reported that to like the dude who was working there, and that was so embarrassing because he's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, the frogs, they're stuck in this little hole and they can't get out. So I like put a paper there so they can escape, and they're all just dying in there. One, I don't think they were dying in there because I didn't see any dead frogs, but I don't know how they got out because they weren't getting out. They were just stuck in a circle. So there was like a sidewalk, and then off the sidewalk there, and then there's like a foresty jungle place here, small sidewalk, and then there's this huge like, here's the building. There's like maybe a 1 foot by 2 feet down, kind of just like a pit with rocks. It's like for aesthetic reasons. And the frogs would jump from because it was raining, and the frogs would jump from the grassy area across the sidewalk into the hole. And so in there, there'd be tons of frogs, like at least 40, 50 frogs. And they would all just like, I would see them try to like jump up and like not figure it out. And like, so they would all just be going in huge circles trying to get out. So I put a piece of paper on there, and then like a card, like laminated paper, and then they would like use it to get up. And I was like, I'm a savior, I'm a savior, like. And I had like reported it to him. I was like, oh, maybe you guys should like put some wood there, right? It's just, you're supposed to be silent this whole time. So I go up to him thinking this is a meaningful enough reason to break silence, right? And I'm like, hey, after a meditation session, I think the next day, I was like, hey, I need to tell you something. These frog, he like looks at me, he's like, what are you talking about? He like has no idea. He's like, and I probably sound so stupid. Um, that was funny though, yeah. Yeah, that was silly. I remember like staring at that spider forever. It was crazy. Like a spider this big, right? They're on these. So my sleeping arrangement here are the people who are like more like, I don't know, the people who like are intense about it. So they like live kind of there. They do like the 2 months or 1 month or whatever, something like that. Maybe they don't even do the 1 month. I think they might just be the volunteers or something, or they may just be the second time students or whatever. But yeah, I guess in that sense, it's kind of, they have slightly better accommodations. And so in their rooms, there's like these kind of like, I don't know what to explain. They're not bushes, but they're like these kind of bushes, but they're more like plants, bushes. And so in them, there's these two ginormous cobwebs, like maybe like literally this big, and these big ass spiders in the middle. I saw the second one later. That one was bigger, but more like quiet, and then this one pretty big. And the first time I was walking by, I took a second to look at it. A fly or something gets stuck. I have never seen a spider move that fast. Wrap it around, and then drag it back to the center, clean it up, and then like, I don't know, and then started sucking it. Like, I don't know what it did, but it happened in the matter of like 3 seconds. And I was shook. I've never seen something like that in my life. I was like, I didn't even know spiders could move that fast, that agile. Like, and so then for the next like 5 days, I would just sit there like watching them to see what would happen. And I was like so amazed by them. And I remember like some of the other guy, Pulkit, I think his name was, would be like, we know, we were like, I saw you just sitting there looking at the plants and I knew you started to lose your mind. But I really wasn't. I was just like so fascinated by the spider. I would sit there for like 20, 30 minutes and just watch them. And like, which I guess does sound kind of like you're losing your mind. But no, I mean, and I remember one of the days I like snuck out my Polaroid because I was like, I really want to take a picture of this. I snuck out my Polaroid hella quietly. I brought it there when no one was looking, took a picture. It was super blurry. There was no, I still have it, super blurry, super dark. You couldn't see anything. I did a few of those things. Like, I think that's something that's always about me. Like, I always want to rebel a little. You know, like I remember even there, like I would like sing in the forest a bit. Like, I'm not a good like 100% rule follower ever. Like if someone tells me 20 rules, like I will always break at least one. I've never in my life listened to all 20 or whatever, 100% of rules. Um, but yeah, so I remember that. I remember the final day when all of us like could start talking a bit. We like stayed up hella late. We went on this walk and we found a bench and we like wanted to inscribe something on it because people already had, so we like flipped it around. And on the back, we were thinking about saying, what was his name, dude? Oh my god. What was his name? Okay, first of all, what's it called? It's called a Vipassana. And the guy name is like SN Goenka. Oh my god. Okay, so basically how it works is when you're meditating, this dude Goenka, he's the one who I think like built this stuff. And so his voice is the one who's like kind of like repeating like whatever. It's like, okay, time to wake up, time to meditate, whatever it is. Um, and he would say it, and he'd always say something funny. The first couple times, I started dying, and I thought I was the only one laughing like that, but apparently everyone was. He, I don't remember clearly what he would say, but it was so silly. And then for like 20 minutes a day, you'd watch these videos of him speaking about like something spiritual, about like, I don't know what it means to be, like why it's so hard to meditate, this and that. And in the videos, it would be him and then his wife sitting right next to him. But his wife would look like she's having the worst time ever. She'd just be sitting there hella mad, like this. And then like he'd be super like incensed about whatever he's talking about. And so every time the video ends, they zoom out, and then you see him just smiling like this, going, and then his wife just sitting there looking like, please release me from this life. And I remember I used to think it was funny every time. I thought I was the only one, but when we all talked about it, we all thought it was hilarious. So we're gonna write something on the back of the seat that said something about, all right, like, I don't know, something about Goenka's wife. Um, a shout out to her. That was funny. I remember the day before, like the day we were leaving, when we were like cleaning up everything, and Nick, I think Nicholas or whatever his name was, fucking put this giant pot, right? This like huge metal pot on a shelf, because he took it down, he put it on the shelf, but he moved it to where when you open the door, it fell. It like it falls, and so it fell right on my head when I was cleaning. It was this huge metal pot, like this big, and I like swore I was concussed, because I was like, I don't know, I googled what concussions were, and it was like, yeah, sudden changes of mood, because I was like really excited and happy in the morning, and then after that I was just like messed. I was like not feeling the same. I remember I called Akash. I was like, this huge metal pot landed on my head, am I okay? To make it worse, this dude Nicholas was hella annoying about it. One, because he's just the whole time has been very like just unaware of like his surroundings, because like we're all like in this meditative state of like, oh my god, we're so aware. He's just like still a child, like running around and being dumb, because he's Aussie, he's Australian, but he was just like intense, like he was like being hell. And so I was really upset, and then he was like, I play rugby, like, dude, that's nothing, don't worry about it, it won't be a concussion. Because I was like worried, and I was like, you're not helping, like that was a big, I've never, and it was like right after a meditating thing, so I was like, I got really scared, because I was like, damn, if something happens to your mind, it's just like your life is messed. Something happens to your brain, like your life is messed, especially after spending a week just being in my brain, like having something like hit it, like it was my home. I really like cleaned it up, I polished it, and it was like something just came to break it. So I remember when I got, the day before, I got bit by this huge ass wasp. Like it just like, I was like, oh, like again, like I was like hella peaceful, I was hella like sattvic, and this like wasp came, landed, it just like stung me like 6 times. I was like, ah. I remember yelling, and everyone just looked at me. I like shoved it off. And it's just like funny. I feel like in these like super like meditative spaces, um, the expectation is you're supposed to be like calm even through things like that, which like is the difference between like people who are really about it and people who just like, that was my first time. I'm not really about it. In pain, I'm gonna yell. Like I'm not gonna be like, pain. What does it feel like? I'm gonna yell. Like, so I yelled, and I remember after, like, I went and asked help, and then someone found some herbs and like rubbed it, and it was cool. Like I felt like my immune system was like heightened, which was nice. Um, I remember the food was always hella mid. I would always take an extra fruit or something because I was always so hungry. I remember there's few days. I remember there's, yeah. I just remember the ups and downs. Like one day I'd have an amazing meditation session. The next time I'd be, so much anger came out. Like I was so angry. So some of the meditation sessions, and I feel like I just have. It made me realize like I have a lot of anger within me. A lot of like pent up anger towards like just random stuff. Like it came out during it. I let go of a lot of my anger towards I let go of a lot of anger towards Sita Auntie. That just came up from being a child, you know, um, things like that. But that's crazy. That's a crazy song. Mm. I was actually thinking about that when I go back home. I would really want to like get back together, Aditya, Anirudh, Preston, Akil, Yash, like all go hoop together. That would be lit, dude. Oh, 3 on 3 with us six would be so fun. We were all pretty good. Like, I'm definitely the worst out of the like, but we're all good. Like, we're good now. I would say if you put Yash and Preston are hella good. Akil's really good. Aditya's really good. I'm like serviceable. I'm not useless. Like, it's a pretty good squad for sure. Like 5 brown boys, like pretty good. That's how funny Preston's not a brown boy, but at that point he was. Um, yeah, man. I miss that. I mean, I really want to, get those friendships back together. Like, what? Why are we throwing those away? Those are such like special, unique friendships that like will never come again. Right? My relationship with Anirudh and Aditya from whenever the third grade until the seventh grade is something that was so crucial to who I am as a person. Right? Like all those dumbass skits we made, all the stupid like gonads. Gonads started with those dudes. Right? Like what a big part of my life. Gonading. Like there was this one time for my birthday or something. Everyone's sitting in that teal common house, um, teal common house garage. Okay, and then for some reason there was like something about gonading me came up, and I'm like running around on the street of Teal Common yelling rape. I'm like rape, rape. Again, because these dudes are chasing me, trying to gonad me, right? Like, that's so wild. Like, in the middle of the street with the loudest volume, I'm yelling, right? Like, dude, oh my god, that's so ridiculous. Like, it's a unique kind of thing about childhood where you can, like, do stuff like that. Like, that's dumb, Like, that's a false alarm like that is definitely something you should never be yelling on the street. Are you kidding me? Especially rape. Oh my god, you can't be yelling that on the street like that. Dude, I wonder if any parents gave a fuck. I wonder if any parents even like flinched. Or they're just like, alright, it's a stupid kid. Because yeah, if I heard that, if I was a parent, I heard that, I would definitely be like, what is going on? But, so yeah, so that was, I mean, so many gonad stories. There was one time where, oh my god, dude, there's like some crazy ones. Like, one time we were in basketball, Sinji was boxing me out, and I gonad him, right? And then I start running, and I'm like hiding, and these dudes are like searching for me like nothing, and I'm like hiding behind this house. I think actually what I actually do is I not only do that, I open somebody's back gate, and I get inside and I hide there, like some random stranger's back gate. This was I think fifth or sixth grade, and I'm just like hiding there because I'm like I know they were looking for me. There were times where like in middle school we'd ask Aditya to go talk to a girl, and when he's like talking, we'd run behind him and like pants him, or we'd run behind, go nod him, like dude. Oh my god, dude, that's so ridiculous. Oh my god. I'm trying to think like I mean the high school kind of videos, mainly Mirage. That hella go nutted, but those are funny ass videos. But in elementary school, the story. I'm just gonna say because I never want to forget it. The story started because there's this dude named Chris came in. Reggie Evans, I don't remember who did it to who. I think Chris came in, I think, did it to Reggie Evans, I think. No, it might be the other way. Reggie Evans, no, I think Chris Kamen, I think, did it to Reggie Evans. Basically, one of them was boxing the other dude out. And this guy from under, grabs his nuts, okay, and then it's like on ESPN, and they like zoom in, and they're like, "This is what he did." Preston sends that in an email to us in the fifth grade, and he's like, "Look at this video. Guy grabs other guy in the gonads or something like that." And then somehow, I don't know how that picked up traction, but then we just converted this noun into a verb, and now gonading is the action of doing that. Um, but that was ridiculous, yeah. And then we had other stupid words like ubular, tubular. Oh my god. It's just like, yeah, but like those guys were fundamental to my kind of just development as a person to like have friends, right? I mean, from a young age, I had when people are like, "You weren't lonely," like, no, because I had those guys, like all the time. There was every day I had Aditya, Yash, Anirudh, like Akil, Preston. Like I was never lonely. I was never alone even. And then Shivam kind of started hanging out. I don't know when he really started hanging out with us. I don't think he was hanging out with us till high school. Um, but when middle school happened and Aditya left in the eighth grade. When did Aditya leave? I think Aditya left in the. Mm. Aditya left in the ninth grade. Anirudh and Yash left in the seventh grade, which is why in the eighth grade it was me, Aditya, Anirudh. No, no, me, Aditya, Miraj, and Akil. Oh, let's go. That was a lit ass time. Yeah, we would hang out every day at lunch because it was right after I think English. We all had English together with Miss Tang. And we'd all hang out, us four, every day and just do dumb stuff together. And who would fight? Akil and Miraj would fight. Akil and Miraj would fight. Oh my god, they'd like try to take each other's shirt off, like just like Aditya must have a really interesting life. I'm curious. I know he went to UW for 4. No, he went to UC Davis. He went to UC Davis, and then he went to UW or something, and then now he's doing his PhD. I don't know what the. Did he go to UW? He moved to Seattle or something, but then I think yeah. And then he went to U. Now he lives in Pennsylvania or something like that. Pittsburgh. He lives in Pittsburgh. I don't know what school that is, but yeah. Um, and Anirudh lived in Texas, and then he came back to the Bay for a bit. Now he lives in New York. Everyone's like, I don't know, all over the country, which is cool. Like, I lived in San Diego, lived in DC, but the U.S. isn't that diverse. Like, I mean, whether you live in Chicago, I mean, there's only so many cities you can live. Yeah, I lived in Chicago. Yeah, I lived in Boston. Yeah, I lived in New York. Yeah, I lived in DC. Yeah, I lived in the Bay. Yeah, I lived in San Diego. I lived in Seattle. I lived in Austin and Houston and New Orleans and uh where else? Oh, Portland and Atlanta and Orlando and Miami and like I mean, but they're all so similar. The difference would be along the lines of like how much partying you do, how much like drugs you do, what type of work you do. Um, but they're not changing in terms of like value systems. Like all of these cities are similar in that they value, for the most part, having a good job, making good money. Same places like Portland would probably value like I don't know time in outdoors more than a place like New York. New York may some places may value art artistic creativity, but they're not going to be as different as like. I mean, this is obvious. It doesn't need to be said, but even if you go from Mexico City to right under to any of those cities, right? I mean, just drastic difference. But yeah, in the opposite direction. This is the one I can do easily. But all I'm doing is the other way. This is hard. Right, this one I can do. Right? What if it was? It is. Okay, yeah, I'll go. 11:30. I have to work out, work a little, do some stuff like that, and then I have to go to school around 2:30. 2:30. So eat around 1:30, leave around 2, get there around 2:30, teach, or just be there until 8:30, 9 perhaps, and then come home around 9, eat, find something to do tonight. TK. TK. Okay, bye. चलती है. I love you.